This is Adrian Hart with your Southeast Colorado News on seconews.org. We're here with La Junta Police as they had their meeting with the Neighborhood Watch expansion, and we'll just let Chief Quick take it away.
All right. Good evening, everyone. You have to bear with me. I have a little bit of lost of voice. I want to thank all of you that took the time to come out tonight. We'll probably try this again in January when it's not an election, not Christmas time in December, and see if we can get some more. We currently have, 4 active neighborhood watches. So some of them wanted to be here, but we're out of town and stuff too. So I'm guessing those of you that are in here aren't currently involved in one. Yeah, awesome. We're glad to have you here. The whole purpose of this is to help us get extra eyes and ears out on the street. Letting us know what you see in your neighborhood. Call it in. There is no anything that would bother us. You call in. If you think it's suspicious, you call in and let us know. We'll come check it out. But I do ask that you keep in mind when we are busy. Right now we're in the process of getting people trained and hired and trained. So right now we have 2 people on the street, but we are set to have 3. So sometimes it looks like we're not doing anything, but it's because usually we're on calls and there's 4 to 5 to 6 calls lined up on the CAD system that they've got to go answer, and the dispatchers give them to us in priority. So we need you guys to help us with that. And if you guys see something that's higher priority than what we're doing, we can break off and get to that. So I'll turn it over to the sergeants. These are the guys out on the street that are, doing the hard work, and they're going to talk to you and kind of break this up. And then, like I said, maybe let's try it again in January after the holidays and stuff and see if we can get some more people in here. But we can start with you folks, and we're happy to have you. Thank you. I don't know who's going first. Kyle? Okay.
Like Chief Quick said, we thank you guys for being here and being interested in the safety of our community. So I'm Sergeant Kyle Moore, Sergeant Anthony Avila, Sergeant Sal Artega, and Sergeant Mitch Zorginski. Richard, too bad. We're all gonna take some part in this PowerPoint here to give you a little information. This PowerPoint is going to focus more on the creation of your Neighborhood Watch program, since a lot of you are new to that. So our goal today is we want to inform participants of the importance of Neighborhood Watch and provide strategies on starting a Neighborhood Watch program within our community. So we're going to look at the history, discuss elements of starting Neighborhood Watch in your community. So why Neighborhood Watch? So Neighborhood Watch, we want to try and create strong and healthy neighborhoods within our community. We all value a sense of security as a vital feature of the neighborhoods that we live in. A sizable number of us, about 1 in 4, enjoy building the formal and informal links that will strengthen safety in our communities. So what we need is people that are willing to join together to increase this neighborhood safety. In most communities, 6 out of 10 people belong to a neighborhood watch where it is available. So we want to build neighborhood cohesion, so people working together, which is the essential part of making this reach our common goal. So we need neighbors who know and look out for each other. That's the strongest feature of safer neighborhoods, according to Harvard University. And safety and security is ranked one of the most essential human needs, according to psychologist Abraham Maslow. So the history and benefits of Neighborhood Watch. So it's a community-based program. It's supported by not only the National Sheriff's Association, but also the Police Chiefs Association, as well as other large law enforcement groups. And it's offered by more than 9 of 10 law enforcement agencies in the United States. It was created around 1972, and since its inception, thousands of communities have established these neighborhood watches that have actually changed and made a real difference in their communities. So some benefits of these programs, they're going to unite the community, increase neighborhood cohesion, like I said, reduce fear of crime within the community and within your neighborhood, improves crime reporting by citizens, increases surveillance in the community, prevents and reduces crimes, and enhances even the larger scale homeland security. So like Chief Quick said, we are a little short right now, so we talk about it a lot in community policing. So we need to go hand in hand. We need your help. We can't be everywhere at once. There's a lot of ground to cover with just 2 people working the streets. So having your guys' help is very beneficial, not only to us, but to the community as well. And a big thing to remember is once these neighborhood watch programs begin, you're going to see a rise in reported crime. That's because you have a larger group of people now being more vigilant, looking for these crimes. So not to be concerned, but the rise in reported crime after starting a neighborhood watch program will happen. And as you guys learn what to report and survey your neighborhoods, the number of crimes that are reported may rise, even though the actual incidence of crimes drop or stay the same. So it's important to note that and not get discouraged and feel like you're not making a difference here in our community. Studies focusing on Neighborhood Watch show that it is effective because it unites us around a common goal, which is safety and security. It provides basic skills to all members on preventing crime and reporting suspicious activity or crime. It builds a base for correcting neighborhood problems, and it works well with other civic activities.
Good evening. Again, I'm Sergeant Ortega. I'll be picking up where Sergeant Moore left off. And to put it simply, as the slide says here, Neighborhood Watch works. Oftentimes you may hear it called by a different name. As you can see here, it has totally different names, but what it comes down to is that it's effective. And oftentimes it's a cost-effective way to keep your neighborhood safe. You could use volunteers. Items could be donated, such as signs and stuff like that. But what it comes down to is that it works. It's effective. As you can see here, we have some stats for Neighborhood Watch. Birmingham, Alabama, 13 out of 15 neighborhoods had experienced high rates of burglary. After Neighborhood Watch started, 12 of those 15 had no burglaries. Lakewood, Colorado, a little closer to home, burglaries dropped 77% after Neighborhood Watch was implemented. Cypress, California, Neighborhood Watch cut burglaries by 52% and thefts by 45%. The program saved police an estimated $79,000. Some elements of starting Neighborhood Watch in your guys' community. We're going to go over these a little bit more, but these are just basic ones. Organization, communication, visibility, and partnerships. Organization in the fact that we need to have some sort of planning, putting meetings together, being able to pick members of the community for certain roles. Communication, that being having some sort of communication with people in the neighborhood, whether it be emails, cell phone numbers, text messages, something like that, so everyone in the neighborhood can keep in touch and be able to relay information to each other. Visibility, like it says here, the signs are a great way to visibly show that people are in a neighborhood watch area. And partnerships is where we come in, working with local law enforcement. How to start a neighborhood watch. Let's see. Every community resident, young or old, single or married, renter or homeowner, business or household, can and should join a neighborhood watch. Identify different tasks that different residents can take on. There should be roles for everyone who wants help. These are just the basic steps to start a community neighborhood watch, and it's in order to have a community that's working together and not just a neighborhood with some signs in it, not really deterring too much. When it comes to starting a neighborhood watch, you need to be clear with everyone in the neighborhood about different roles that people should be taking on and how to proceed with that. Some people may be better at watching at night, where others are better at watching at day. Some may be able to be contacted during night and only during the day, so on and so forth. And neighborhood watch continued. Involve your local law enforcement is what we're doing here today. A kickoff meeting. This is the first initial meeting that's planned out with everybody. You can start making roles and electing captains, select leaders, as I said. Train residents in neighborhood watch basics and in observation and reporting. This is what to report, when to report, and how to report. Assess neighborhood needs. You guys are in your own neighborhoods. You know what you need, and that just needs to be addressed in the meetings. Build participation, involving every community that you can, or everyone in the community that you can. Maintain energy and celebrate with your neighbors. Tips for keeping your neighborhood safe. Members learn how to make their homes more secure, watch out for each other and the neighborhood, and report activities that seem suspicious to the police or sheriff's office. Any geographic unit can be the base: a street, a block, an apartment building or complex, a business district, an office building, a park, or a school campus. Continuing, watch groups are not vigilantes. They are extra eyes and ears for reporting crime and extra hands for helping neighbors. Neighborhood watch helps build pride and can serve as a springboard for efforts to address such community concerns as recreation for youth, childcare, and affordable housing.
I'm Sergeant Avila. So we'll go over a few things that you're going to need to look at for setting up the first meeting. One very important thing is to advertise the meeting. You know, you can do this by posting invitations throughout your neighborhood. One huge thing with advertisement is to try and give people plenty of notice, and usually the more notice you give, the better turnout you get. A lot of people, are big planners, and if they know in advance, they could plan around going to that meeting. But if you're very short notice, a lot of people are not going to make it just because they already got things going on. Another thing to do is try and make it brief. Most people nowadays, most people are just very, very short attention spans. But you want to get good information out there, but you want to make it brief so you're keeping everybody's attention, and people are not thinking of other stuff. When stuff's going on. You want to make sure wherever your meeting is going to be has enough room for the amount of people that you're going to have. You want to try and make people comfortable, have room to sit. You don't want to have it where you have 5 chairs and you got 15 people and everybody's standing around. A lot of times these are in the evenings when people are getting out of work and stuff and a little tired, so you want to try and make people as comfortable as you can. And then also if possible, you want to try to have access. If there's anybody that's coming with any kind of disability, so they can get in and out of the building or location that you're having the meeting. So at the very beginning, you want to establish the purpose of the meeting and the objectives that you want everybody to get up, right at the beginning of the meeting. And for this first meeting, you want to select a chair or coordinator, and this could be just a temporary, chairperson for the neighborhood. And then once you get that neighborhood established, then you guys can all vote on who you want the chairperson to be. All right, so we'll continue with a couple more tips. Your first meeting, you want to make it a team effort. You want to get people involved. Like I kind of said, you want to keep their attention. To keep people's attention, you want them involved in what's going on, right? So you can decide to address one or two important issues to start with. Try and pick the most important that you see at the beginning, and then once you have continual meetings, you can grow off of that. You can ask for volunteers and assign tasks. Ask people, who has time, who's willing to step forward, and you could assign tasks at this. And then agree on a meeting schedule. So you want to get with everybody. I know it's hard to make it good for everybody involved, but try and make it good for the majority of the neighborhood. Something that will work best for the majority. We're going to go over some observations. So you should have a meeting to teach residents the best way to observe and report crimes. During this meeting, you want to have as many residents as possible take part in this meeting and include everybody in the neighborhood. This includes youth, adults, seniors. We want to include everybody. Why do we want to include everybody? What do you think?
More eyes the better.
More eyes the better, right? Kids can see just like you can, or younger adults, older adults. We all can see something. We all can take part, and we all can help the community, right? So that last one kind of just hits on a little bit of what I just said. And, people see things from a different perspective. You could be here, your house is right here, and you got a disturbance that's going on right in front of your house where you might not see that license plate, right? Because the car's right on the side of you. Or your neighbor a couple houses down might have a perfect view of the license plate and seen it. So that's something to think about. Just having that little bit of different perspective could make a big difference. So these are just a couple of things to look and pay attention for, listen for. So if you hear someone screaming, someone shouting for help, someone looking in the windows, parked cars, I don't know if any of you have had any of your own vehicles broken into, but unfortunately here in Lahaina that happens. It's kind of often. You know, and like Sergeant Moore was saying, you know, we only got a couple eyes, you know, but getting everybody involved and watching out for some of these things, you know, can really help prevent a lot of crimes that are going on. You know, unusual noises are a big thing too. You know, you hear something out in the backyard or down in the alley, you know, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, don't hesitate, like Chief said, to call and let us know. We can go out and check it out. One thing is sometimes we don't always catch or see whoever was back there, but they see us. You know, they may see us and go hide somewhere. But the more we go out into a neighborhood, the more we, you know, it works as a deterrent. You know, if we're always on this block, you know, word gets around with us and with everybody, you know. So word gets around with some of the people that are not doing some good things too. And, you know, they might say, hey, anytime I go down over here and I'm starting to do something, the cops show up. You know, probably stay away from that area. So that works as a great deterrent. Another thing to look at and observe is property being taken from closed businesses or houses where no one is at home. So that right now, especially now that it's starting to get colder, we're starting to see a lot of that pick up because, you know, a lot of our homeless population are looking for places to try and stay warm, trying to get out of the weather. But yeah, it's super important. Keep an eye on those places, especially if you have any abandoned houses or closed down businesses that are close to your neighborhood. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about too doesn't necessarily have to stay in your neighborhood, but you know, if you're out driving around and see something, you know, you guys can always feel free to call us on stuff like that too. Last one, cars, vans, trucks moving slowly with no apparent destination or no lights on. You know, you see somebody cruising down the street, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night with no lights on. You know, that's something pretty suspicious, right? So definitely give us a call, let us know. We can go out and contact them. You know, and sometimes we might not be able to make an arrest or something right then and there. But again, like I said, that works as a deterrent. You know, if they're out looking at a neighborhood or looking at a house and we go out and contact them, you know, we get their license plate, we get their name, their date of birth. The chances of them going back to that neighborhood in that same vehicle are very, very slim. So it works, like I said, as a great deterrent. Another few things to look for: anybody that looks like they're being forced into a vehicle, a stranger sitting in a car, stopping and talking to a child, you know, somebody that you don't recognize that's ever been in the neighborhood. You know, if they pull up and start calling one of the neighborhood kids over there to go talk to them, you know, definitely want to call us immediately. Abandoned cars. That's a good one. There's been a lot of stolen vehicles that we end up recovering that seem like it's just an abandoned car that's been sitting there. And not only cars, like sometimes, you know, machinery, skidsters, stuff like that, you know, have been called into us. And sometimes it's been days and days, you know. Sometimes we'll get called in and say, oh, well, it's been there for like a week. You know, and we go out there and sure enough, it's a stolen vehicle or a stolen piece of equipment. So if you see something like that, I would even say, you know, a day or 2 days, you know, give us a call and let us know. We can go out and check it out.
That would include trailers and...
Oh, yeah, any kind of vehicle, trailer and everything too. We can go out and check on trailers. Trailers have VIN numbers or license plates just like cars, so... Any unusual activity in businesses, alleys, isolated areas, and notorious problem spots in your neighborhood. Do you guys have any spots in your neighborhood that seem like that there's more activity or more things that happen than not? So you guys know those spots, right? So that's a great thing to bring up in your neighborhood meetings. Try and keep it, bring up those spots to the other neighbors, which they probably know about them too, but you guys can start keeping an extra eye in those areas. And that's something also you can let us know. If you got to, back in a lot of these alleys are super dark. They're not very lit. So yeah, definitely let us know. All right. So we're going to go on to what to do when you're reporting a crime. Okay. One thing very important is to stay calm. If there's somebody, outside screaming, hollering, or they're fist fighting or something, you're probably going to get a little bit of adrenaline. You're going to get excited, but it's very important when you call in to try and stay calm so our dispatchers can understand you when you're talking. Kind of just hits that second point. It's important not to panic, even though you might be scared. This third one is huge. Is to call the police immediately. A lot of times we get called out to certain situations, and we go out there, and the people say, "Well, that happened about a half hour ago, or happened, 15 minutes ago." How long does it take to get from here to Rocky Ford? 10, 15 minutes, right? If you wait that long to call us, it's a lot harder for us to be able to make contact with that person or that vehicle. The quicker you can call into us, the better it is for us. Because everything takes time. It takes a little bit of time. It might take a minute or 2 minutes for you to call in and dispatch to get the information. Then they have to dispatch us, and we could be on the other side of town. It might take another 2 minutes, so it could be 4 or 5 minutes from the time you call or to the time that we get there. So time is very important. Try and call us as quickly as possible. Okay. So this is some information that our dispatchers are going to ask you once you call in. The very first thing that they're going to be asking you is the location. Okay. In our cars, we have iPads, and it'll pop up whenever a call pops up. And the first thing the dispatchers get is the address. So they may be able to put in that address, right away as long as they get that from you. And we can see that pop up before we're even dispatched and start heading to that direction. Okay? So very important to give address first. You want to give the type of crime, whether or not there are injuries. That might be something that you may know and you may not know. But if you can see it clearly, that's very important to let us know that there's injuries. That way we can either get an ambulance headed that direction or get them notified and maybe staged where it's a little safe until we get in and make sure everything's safe for the ambulance crew. And where the criminal went. So if they leave, try and get a direction of travel. I don't know how many times we get called out and they say they left, but they don't give us a direction of travel. That's super important when we're coming, getting dispatched to the scene. If we know a direction, then we can come from that direction and try and intercept them. Okay? All right. So why do you think we should report crime? Anybody? What's a good reason to report crime?
Crime impacts our safety.
Say it again, I'm sorry?
Crime impacts our safety.
Does. Okay.
Yeah, you know about it if it's not reported.
Right.
If there's a couple people that report it, then it could be a pattern.
Yeah. You know, and that's a big thing too. A lot of times people think, and people, you know, kind of going off of that, sometimes people think, oh, well, that guy probably called it in, or they see somebody on a cell phone and think that they're calling us. I will tell you, a lot of times when something happens, people are on the phone calling their family or their friends to come and help them. A lot of times they don't call us. So yeah, very important.
A lot of people don't want to get involved.
Yeah. That's a big thing too. And another thing to remember too is that you can call in and be anonymous. You know, even if you don't want to get involved, at least you can let us know that something's going on. You know, we do try and get people to come forward and be willing to share and maybe testify if need be about what they've seen, because a lot of times when we get out there and talk with the suspect and the victim, they're not as cooperative, so they don't give us the whole thing. But you can also be anonymous and just call in and say, hey, this is going on, and we can head over there. So these are a couple points that are reasons why we should report crime. You know, it helps identify crime trends. You know, a lot of times people or criminals will target a specific area for a certain time. You know, and they'll hit a neighborhood, and you know, maybe over a couple nights or over a week. You know, and if it's not reported, you know, it's hard for us to try and anticipate where that crime is, where we're getting an increase in crime. When it is reported, then we can start doing extra patrols and trying to be a deterrent to the criminals that are going out there. The second one kind of hits on the same thing, focuses on hot spots within a community, you know, on problem places or stuff where things happen quite often. And the ones we know about, we do try to do extra patrolling in those areas. It ensures a more accurate picture of neighborhood crime problems, and it can be a gateway to victim assistance. Sorry, I guess I was a little behind on my slide.
Are there certain areas in town right now that are considered hotspots that you guys kind of watch periodically?
Yeah, there's certain places, certain houses. Yeah, there definitely is.
So I know where I'm at, 300 blocks Maple. It's kind of rough around that area. With all these trenches under the bridge.
Oh, okay.
I live under the 3rd Street Bridge there by the Alisteca.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we do get quite a few calls out in that area.
Yeah, and then the vacant church next to me and the vacant house next to me. And I've had some come over and ask, can I stay? And I said, no, it don't belong to me. And no, you're not staying there. So I've had a few of them come and ask me because I live right there. And I said, you can't stay there.
Yeah.
One little gal wanted to rent the shed behind it. I said, it's not my property, but you're not going to stay in there.
Yeah, I think there's a guy back there. He's got some property that goes down off,
Right next door.
and there's like a little, it's like a little cutout kind of in the ground there, and yeah,
Used
had
to
a
be
few
a
people
storage.
trying to stay in there.
It used to be a storage shed.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in that area there, so I know that house next door to me.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
I told
yeah.
him where the storage, it had a door on it and everything, but people got in there in the past and broke it in and stay there. So,
Yeah.
he watches pretty good, and I watch in that area. So. Now, the deck is good about watching the area. We watch their place, they watch what they can on our back area, too. So.
Yeah, and that sometimes the Royals kind of are a hot spot too, where
Right.
because they can go back and forth throughout town and not really be noticed by us.
And I'm the only one that got cameras, so I can see the backyard of mine when they come up the fence, if anybody. And it's so far behind there, and then I got one in the front I can see by the church, but other than that, nobody else has cameras.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tell them, you need to get cameras, people. So,
I tell you, cameras are an awesome asset sometimes. And sometimes not even, for something that happens to you, but something that happens to your neighbors.
right.
A lot of times that, like we talked about, different perspective. Sometimes that camera is just amazing for us. To be able to prove.
My neighbor across the street wanted me to adjust it to pick up her house. I said, if I pick up your house, I'm not picking up nothing in front of mine.
Oh,
I said no.
Yeah. So here's a couple more things that we'll hit on reporting crime. Write down what you saw and heard immediately. Sometimes you forget, and if you got it written down, you can give that to us or give that to the dispatcher. You want to tell us what happened, when, where, and who was involved. If you happen to know, if you've had contact with that person, prior, or maybe know a first name or a nickname, all that helps us. So when you're trying to describe a suspect, these are some very important things: sex, race, age, height, weight, hair color, distinctive characteristics, facial hair, scars, tattoos, if they have any kind of accent. You guys have any other things that you can think of that might be good?
You got a gimp.
They got a gimp. Yeah, they walk different. Anything else?
And if there's more than one person,
Right. More than one. How many? Could you tell if there were girls, guys? Another thing too is like they have glasses. They don't have glasses. And another big thing too is what they're wearing. That helps us out tremendously. Because like I said, everything does take time. So we may see somebody walking down the street that's 3 or 4 blocks down from where it happened. But if you guys, whoever calls in gives us a good description, a good clothing description, we have a whole lot better chance of being able to locate them and find out what happened and what's going on. So there's a couple things to describe about vehicles. So color, make, model, year, license plate, any special features, which include stickers, dents, decals, as well as direction of travel from the scene. So even license plates, if you can't see a whole license plate, try and give us a partial. If you can see 2 numbers out of the 6 or 2 letters out of the 6, give us whatever you could see. Anything else on a vehicle that you guys can think of that might be helpful? Sound, right. Have real loud exhaust. They have the stereo where you can feel the vibration a block away.
dents.
Dents, any kind of damage, right? So, yeah. So you want to be looking at anything that's going to stick out in that vehicle that makes it easier for us to identify. Because tinted windows, that's a good identifier. Because if you say, if you just call in or somebody calls in and says, well, it was a blue sedan, we go out there, maybe there's 3, 4, or 5 blue sedans that we see. it makes it a little harder. And sometimes some of the vehicles have miscolored or mismatched parts. Maybe they had an accident and they got a white fender on a green car or something. That's going to stick out like a sore thumb to us. So anything like that is very, very helpful.
Headlight out.
Yeah, headlight out, tail light out.
Left blinker broken.
Yeah. All right, so you may be asked to sign a complaint or testify in court. Remember, if you don't help the police, the criminal might hurt someone else. So this kind of goes back to where I was talking about being anonymous or not, right? When somebody wants to be anonymous, and like I said, we don't truly discourage being anonymous because, like I said, we would rather it get reported than not reported at all. But when somebody's willing to sign a complaint or write a statement or talk to us and be willing to also go to court and testify, it really helps us out, and it does help the community out, because like I said, a lot of times when we go out and speak with the suspect and sometimes even the victims, they're not very cooperative. That suspect could be, even though they maybe were fighting, they're still, they still don't want the suspect to get in trouble. You know what I mean? That happens quite often, but it's awesome when we have
Snitches end up in ditches.
That's
what they say.
That's what they say.
And repercussion, if you do that, then you're pounding it on yourself, even having a sign out front. They're going to target you, and you'll probably end up with some broken windows and a whole bunch of other stuff that just leads into a big old mess. So,
and that's what a lot of people are afraid of, So I will say, I've been here about 5.5 years, and I can't say, that you won't ever get retaliated against, but I can say that it's very, very low percentage when somebody does come forward and says something that they get retaliated on here. It doesn't happen very often. But like I said, I can't say that you won't, because unfortunately we can't control that. But like I said, that does help us out quite a bit, and that that in turn helps out your victim, whether that be your neighbor, that had their window broken out, or, if it was a domestic violence, that could help that victim that maybe has been, living in a domestic violence situation for years, and they're afraid to come forward and say anything, and they just keep staying in that situation. That can help them to get out of it, Having that one person that's willing to stand up and say, this is what I seen, and I'm willing to stand up and go to court and testify to what I seen. So we may ask you to attend a lineup or look through collections of mugshots to try to identify the person you saw commit the crime. And also sometimes, depending on the situation, we could have somebody detained, and we may have you, drive by in a different police unit or something, and just look at them to see if you can identify, yeah, that's the person I seen, or that's not the guys. So do you guys know do you know the difference between a witness and a complainant? No. So the difference between a witness and a complainant.
Somebody's seen it and somebody reported it.
So a complainant, I'll use like a traffic offense. Okay, if somebody calls in a traffic violation and says, this car blew the stoplight at Highway 15 Colony right there at Walmart, and they call it in. Dispatch will ask them if they're willing to sign a complaint. So a complainant, if they're willing to sign that complaint, there comes in that part of testifying. So if they're willing to sign that complaint, then that means that they're willing to go to court and testify that they seen that vehicle blow the stop sign.
They go
Because we get
to the witness it.
Yeah, so we can go out there and we can, if they're willing to sign a complaint, we can go out and stop that vehicle, and we can actually give a citation off of what the complainant saw. It's nothing that we saw, but it's what they saw, and they're willing to go to court and testify to that. I'll use that traffic complaint. If they call it in and say, well, I'm not willing to sign a complaint, we could go out and still try and locate the vehicle, but then at that point, we can't just stop it because they seen them blow the stop line. We have to have our own probable cause to be able to stop the vehicle for a separate issue or another one. If they're driving bad or something like that, we have to find our own reason to stop it. So it has to be off of what we observed compared to what you observed when they blew the stop sign. And so the witness is more of, just that you saw something, and this is what happened. The witness is more of, a piece of the puzzle, where the complainant is more, it's a very large piece. It's pretty much the whole thing. We're going off of your word completely. You know what I mean? Have any questions about that? All right. Well, I think that's the end of my part. I'll give it to Sergeant Zorzinski.
Okay, so we have activity here based on what we just talked about with Sergeant Avila. Take a look at this picture real quick. See what you can remember from it. Okay, so what do you remember from the photo? So you got the time.
And they were robbing a bank.
Well, what did the suspect look like?
Got a mask.
Mask. Anything else you can remember about the photograph?
Well, those Cadillac type vehicle.
Okay.
68 Cadillac.
Man, he's a great witness. He's got the gear and everything.
Light color.
Right? So maybe each one of you saw something a little bit different. You might not have all seen exactly the same thing. Somebody remembered the time, somebody remembered the color of the vehicle, somebody remembered the suspect was left-handed.
That's where he had his guns.
So being a good witness can be difficult, and we understand that. You may not always see everything. You may not always have all the information for us. Trying to remember that stuff can be difficult. But the more information that you can remember, the better it is. And you can train yourself to do that just every day by looking at different things, trying to be more observant, paying attention to the color of clothing that somebody's wearing or what they look like or a difference in their walk. Any number of things will help us, and you can kind of help to make yourself a better witness by just practicing being observant in those things that you see. On anyone. Could be someone at the grocery store, could be someone walking down the street next to your house. It doesn't have to be a suspect, but those things will help you to better report crimes to us. So what we're looking for is a good witness, and we're focused here on a neighborhood watch program, so the things that you see outside of your house on a daily basis are your baseline, the normal things that you see. So if something steps out of that baseline, steps out of normal, you will be the ones to recognize that. And so that's what we're looking to have you report to us. If it's something outside the norm, pay attention to it. Try and retain that information. Get photographs if that's something that you feel safe doing. That camera systems are outstanding to help with that. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about organizing your neighborhood watch program. We kind of did an overview, kind of a brief thing tonight on some good techniques for reporting crime, and a lot of that stuff that we talked about tonight would be something that we would have an officer come and talk to your neighborhood watch groups about once you have that first meeting and you get that set up. So a lot of those tips and tricks and things that we talked about tonight would be important for the whole neighborhood to get to know, and we'd love to come and bring our law enforcement liaison from the police department down there to talk to you guys about that. But to get started in organizing your neighborhood watch program, first we got to talk about leadership. So the police department does not run the program in your neighborhood. This is your program. This is for the community, and so you're going to need people like a chair or a coordinator, a block captain, committee chairs. You want to look towards people with people skills and commitment to the program. Oftentimes an election will work. Maybe that person in your neighborhood you guys all know would be great at this job. You can force them into the position, right? So you got to select leadership, and that's not something that you have to do sitting here tonight wanting to start this program. It doesn't mean it has to fall on you. Maybe that's not your forte, your specialized area. But you know that a neighborhood watch program is needed, so let's get this thing started in my neighborhood, and then maybe someone else would take over responsibilities of leadership, or maybe they'll buy into the fact that they think there's a program that's needed there as well. So some of the duties of the chair or the coordinator, they will work to sustain and expand the program, not just keep it bare minimum. They'll also be the ones to maintain a current list of participants in the neighborhood watch program, arrange training, and maybe coordinating with local resources as well as their law enforcement liaison for that training, obtaining crime prevention material, coordinating with police and other outside partners. The next bit of leadership covers a block captain responsibility. So they'll be the ones to kind of coordinate, relay information to the members of the group. They'll be the ones to recruit the different people in your neighborhood. You don't want all one group of people. You want to try and bring everyone in the neighborhood together. Could be seniors, youth, and those things that we talked about earlier where maybe young people recognize something different than someone who's a little bit older, and vice versa. So it's good to have a good crosscut of your neighborhood. They'll be the ones to convene the meetings, recruiting newcomers, somebody who moves into the neighborhood that's new, getting them on board, introducing themselves and the neighborhood watch to that person. They'll be coordinating check-ins for shut-in residents. How many of you guys have people that never leave their house or maybe can't leave their house? Right, quite a few in the neighborhood. That's a great community tool right there, where you can kind of check in on them, see if they need anything, and kind of help keep each other safe and up to speed on what's going on. They'll help to identify block problems and arrange fixes for those problems. So they'll be the kind of coordinator for that. If somebody in the neighborhood watch program sees an issue, they can bring that up to the captain, who will kind of coordinate all of that and bring it to us. They'll also notify the coordinator of changes in resident information. Some qualities of a great leader. When you're trying to select the leader for your neighborhood, look for people who will sustain the effort, who are looking for the long term here. They're not just in it for short term. Because remember, to change a trend takes time. And so don't expect that once you implement a program in your neighborhood, it's going to change overnight. There may be some time to develop your group. So look for someone who's going to sustain the effort. Look for someone who's going to get along well with people and listen constructively. Someone who's got maybe that a little bit of a political mindset where they can hear all sides of a story and help make a decision. They should have good communication and negotiating skills. Someone who's going to delegate tasks, because this is a community event and it's not just all about one person. We should all work together. They should be able to conduct meetings effectively and efficiently. We don't want to be sitting there all night long talking about stuff that may not be super important or is redundant, so you want somebody that can kind of consolidate that and efficiently conduct a meeting. They should have a long-range vision of neighborhood community improvement. So some vision here. You want to look for someone like that. That also, and I think this is a huge and very important piece of leadership here, you should be looking for someone who's doing this because they view that position as a civic duty, not a power trip, not a opportunity to make themselves look better. You guys probably see that in leaders in your community everywhere, where they take that power, that authority, a little too seriously, and that can be a real detriment to the program and your neighborhood. It doesn't do anybody any good. This is about bettering the community as a whole, and so as a team, whatever the team does together is beneficial. But when you start looking at it as, oh, look what I did, look how I helped the neighborhood, that can be a problem. So look for somebody who's not on a power trip and doing this for a personal gain. Some more qualities. They shouldn't serve forever. We should rotate through that leadership, give them a little bit of a break, and it also gives others an opportunity to step up. They may have a fresh outlook or some new ideas, and that can be very helpful. Now also, even the most energetic and dedicated leaders lose stamina. It can be overwhelming. Maybe things in their life change or different events come up where they're not able to complete the duties, and so that's okay. We can rotate them out and get a new person in there. Remember to train that new leadership as well, so that block captain or whoever needs to relay information and what they've learned from their experience to the newcomer. Remember to reward them and be appreciative of what they're doing, because they are doing this on a voluntary basis and helping to make your communities better. We want to build participation, so every resident can help. Make sure you include everyone, young and old, it doesn't matter. Just like it says here, Neighborhood Watch can include picking up litter, taking part in child safety programs. Even the smallest things help to improve a neighborhood. And that's something that we try to hit on big as a police department too. If we can clean up the little things, it does eventually affect the big things. If the neighborhood looks clean and neat, it does help to deter crime, and it helps you take pride in your neighborhood. So remember, even the smallest little things like picking up trash or just helping to educate children on bicycle safety or something like that can be a huge part of your community program. Remember that it doesn't mean just because you're in a neighborhood watch program doesn't mean that you have to be out and about outside your home. Sometimes the best reports that we get are from the people who sit inside their house all day and watch through that big picture window. And that's perfectly fine too, because they have a very good understanding of the baseline of the way things work in that neighborhood. They see things that maybe some of us don't, or some of us who have a job and are gone all day don't see, because they're either unable to leave or they're working from home, or whatever the case may be. They may have a better vision of how that neighborhood runs. So remember to involve everybody. Everyone has a responsibility, whether it's big or large. It all feeds to the big picture. So have your neighborhood watch look into resources in the area. Talk with other neighborhood groups. Unfortunately, tonight we don't have some of the neighborhood watch programs that have really done well here represented. They were busy with other stuff, but we want to get them involved. They are very willing to help you guys as new Neighborhood Watch members to start programs, they're willing to help do that. Because it does take a little bit of effort, but they have that experience. So they may be able to show you what worked for them in their neighborhoods and kind of help to springboard this process for you. And that's why I'll hit on it real quick. Outside we have the sign-up sheet. If you did not sign in when you showed up, please make sure you do. If you want to put a phone number, if you can squeeze your email in there, whatever way we can contact you and get those other block captains from Neighborhood Watch programs that are active and working right now in touch with you, we'd love to do that. And they've already expressed their willingness to help with this because they believe in it so strongly. So don't hesitate to put your information on it. Please, we can have them reach out to you. And that goes for anyone that's not here tonight as well. If they're watching on the live stream here, if you're interested, reach out to the police department so we can get that information to our captains who are working in other areas. Look to local PTAs, tenants groups, community service clubs, social clubs, church groups, all these other associations or groups here. Any others that you guys can think about as well that might be a benefit to your community, to see what resources they have to offer. Maybe there's something that they've been wanting to do but just haven't had an opportunity yet. Maybe you're not even aware of how they could benefit your neighborhood, but they could be a great resource to your group. So look to those people if you're organizing this. Your partners may change depending on the issues that you see in your neighborhoods. They should have the same or similar goals on the issues. The resources that you're looking to should be in line with your goals. Make partnership a two-way street. Share your information and resources and vice versa. For example, if you've got a business that works in your neighborhood or near your neighborhood, you can help them by keeping an eye on their business when it's not business hours. And maybe they can provide the snacks for your meetings, or they can help to boost your program somehow by maybe sponsoring programs to pay for signs to go up in your neighborhood. So remember, it's a two-way street. We all help each other. We all live in this community together, and we all need each other to work through these issues that we have. Maybe you'll have special partnerships for one-time projects. Think about those resources in our community that might be able to help you for one-time projects that you're looking at. Remember, there are many groups willing to help you. So look at religious institutions for meeting spaces, copying services, business partnerships like I talked about before. Government agencies may be able to help as well. Library is a great resource as well. So just these are only a few resources. Remember, the sky's the limit. This is your program. So whatever you can think of to help better our community or your neighborhood is going to help to better our community as a whole. So think outside the box on these things. Some more resource ideas here. Printing companies, restaurants, local news media, right, would work together. Adrian,
Thank you, sir.
We all are a team when it comes to this. Okay, so kind of shifting gears a little bit to talk about citizen patrols. This is something that is a good thing for your neighborhood. Getting out on foot, walking around, seeing the neighborhood in a little more personal light. Citizen patrols are great. They usually travel the neighborhood in the evening and alert police to concerns. If you want to develop a citizen patrol, talk with us about how those might work in your area. If you do implement patrols, make sure you share patrol duties, consult regularly with law enforcement, as well as get those patrols trained. Remember, and this is a huge part of this, that citizen patrols are not meant to be vigilante groups. We've had questions before when it comes to Neighborhood Watch about, like, well, can I be armed? Can I, take enforcement action? And the answer is, no, we don't want you to take enforcement action. That's our responsibility and our job. And we don't want you to put your life on the line or your safety on the line to try and prevent something. That's not what we're asking you to do. And we don't want you guys to get in trouble for something that you might think that you're doing the right thing and could potentially get you into some legal hot water. So when it comes to patrols, the idea behind them is to observe and report to law enforcement suspicious activity or issues in your community. That's what these patrols are all about.
Explain, please, what law enforcement should be able to help train the patrols.
Yeah, so what I was talking about with not becoming a vigilante group, that would be something that our law enforcement liaison to your neighborhood watch group could come and talk about. We would talk about things to look for on patrol, such as suspicious vehicles in the area, maybe graffiti, reporting any type of change to an abandoned house, or that abandoned house that's been there for a long time, that used to be open, now has boarded up windows, and it looks like people have been going in and out. Those types of things. So as you go on patrol, we would. What's that?
Lights in the window when
Yeah.
they have no power.
Lights in the window and there's not supposed to be anybody there. We could come and talk to you about those things. And remember, we're talking to a wide group of different backgrounds here. And so maybe that's common sense to somebody, like, oh yeah, well that's what I would look for when I'm out walking around. Whereas to somebody else, they might be thinking along the lines that they want to try to intervene or become a vigilante group, and that's not what we're looking for. So that's why we'd want to come and talk, just to make sure it was very clear to the neighborhood group that we're not looking for a vigilante patrol. We want you to report those things to us so that we can try and handle it. Because the last thing we need is anybody to get hurt. Right? Does that answer your question?
Sure does. Thanks, sir.
All right. Operation identification. This is just another tip for you guys this evening. It doesn't really have anything to do with starting your neighborhood watch program, but it is a good piece of information to get out to you. A lot of you probably have important equipment or expensive equipment in your yard or house that has serial numbers on it or has a lot of value to you. But not a lot of people record that information and keep that somewhere safe. So Operation Identification is a burglary or theft prevention program that involves indelibly marking and or engraving property with traceable ownership identification. What does that mean? Maybe it means putting engraving the serial number on the piece of equipment, or your initials, or something specific to you that you would be able to say, I know that piece of equipment is mine because I marked it with my initials, or I put my phone number on it, or whatever the case is. We are a huge proponent of this, and it has four purposes, and that's to deter crime, because if it's very clearly marked, indelibly marked, where it can't be removed, it lessens somebody else's desire to take it, because now it's got some type of marking. It also provides positive identification to help with prosecution and aid in property recovery. I will tell you that there have been a lot of times where our officers have gone out and contacted somebody that's got what we believe could be stolen property in their vehicle, such as hand tools, power tools, machinery, or equipment. It's not marked, and the person who it was stolen from, the victim, didn't have any of that information for us. And unfortunately, I can't just go take the Craftsman power tool away from the guy that I stopped because it looks like it was yours. How many of those are there out there? But if it has some type of positive identification where I can show it belongs to you, now I've got a lot more to go on. And we have pretty good success when it comes to returning property that is marked indelibly with some type of personal identifying information. We can get that back to you when we make a stop. And it's helped us in cases of burglaries in the past. So we just want to put this out there. If you've got questions, you can contact us about it. It's not something that is a real formal operation, at least now in the city, but it's a piece of information that might be helpful to you. So especially if you're a person that owns a lot of equipment or something like that, you store out in a shed or has a chance of getting stolen or broken into, please think about this.
Do you have an engraver here in the building that a person could borrow to?
We don't have like a rental engraver or a checkout, anything, equipment like that. There are businesses in the community that might be able to help you out with that, and that would be something that, hey, you could reach out to your block captain and say, I think this would be a great program to start in our neighborhood. Let's look at local resources. Or do we have a laser engraver? Or somebody that a local business would be willing to help us with this program to, get started. Or, maybe the neighborhood watch program could pool together some money to buy a Dremel for the neighborhood to use collectively. So something like that. That would be a great example of how you use resources pooled together to keep each other a little more safe and kind of help to prevent crime. Questions from anybody for any of us? Yes, ma'am.
Is there a certain area that a neighborhood should cover? A neighborhood watch? Is it like 2 blocks this way, 2 blocks that way?
Sure.
Is there a certain?
It kind of it just depends on your situation. We don't want a neighborhood to be too large where it's not manageable for a block captain. So that may be something that you guys work out amongst each other as you begin to grow this thing. Do we split into 2 groups or whatever? But we just don't want it to become too unmanageable. We talked about earlier having a phone tree or some way of the block captain getting a hold of everybody. And as you guys probably know, if there's too many people involved, it can become overwhelming. And so that would be our guidance, is just to make it manageable.
So we could use reverse 911.
Read the whole city. Yeah, we want to try and avoid that.
We do that. We'll just clean it all up. Everybody will know. They'll know that red Pinto going down the road is over on 7th Street.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Do you guys have a map of the ones that are already established? That maybe some of us are almost in that area. Sure.
So currently, if you are in an area that has an active neighborhood watch program, you would probably know about it. If you're not familiar, if there's one in your area, then you probably don't have it, because the block captains are very good about it.
Because you said you had some. Is there
Correct.
A number count you got now? You got 4, 7?
So as far as I remember, we do have 4 active ones. There may be some that have kind of fallen to the wayside because of changes in the block captains or people leaving. And that's where we're going to try and reignite those areas that already have stuff in place to try and build that back up. But if you don't know about a neighborhood watch program in your area, you probably don't have one.
What about the signs that can be, I guess we would purchase the signs to post them at our neighborhood?
Yeah. So those signs can be purchased through the city. I believe we had done it before.
Yeah, I think the sign shop here made some of them. So, but each group found a funding source or put in the money, and they purchased their own signs. Yes.
And a sign, just because you don't have a sign does not mean you don't have a program.
Right.
So if it's something that you're just not financially able to work on right now, that's okay. We'd rather have the program in place and the people trained in your neighborhoods than have the signs up. And that's something that we would, encourage you guys to help work on as we move forward. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
So I know that social media is like a really big thing right now. Like everything gets posted to social media. Is there anything that shouldn't be put on social media?
That's a good question. Well, you guys, as citizens, can put whatever you'd like to put on social media. Obviously, that's something I can't control. However, certain things on social media can make prosecution a little bit more challenging. We encourage that if you have something that goes up on social media, before you put it up there, you report it to us. Like we talked about before, a lot of people want to report crimes to their family and their friends, and they post it on Facebook or something, and that's how we end up finding out about it. And unfortunately for us, it doesn't do a lot of good. So, notifying people about crime issues in your area on social media isn't a problem, but we just ask that you would put that information in our hands as well, first and foremost. And unfortunately, we do have limitations on what we can and can't do when it comes to making an arrest. We have our own requirements, legal requirements, to make arrests and to bring charges forward. So sometimes it seems like nothing happened, even though that was put in our lap. And unfortunately, that's maybe not the case. We have to follow the law when it comes to making those arrests and everything. So, we'd ask if you guys have anything that you want to put on social media, try and run it by us, especially in a neighborhood watch group. Run it by us and see if there's something that we can do to help, because we want to work together as a community, and the more that we do that, the better it is for the community. We need you guys. We need you guys a lot. You're our eyes and ears when we're not there.
I'd like to know personally, though. A lot of times, I've had quite a few situations, me and you together, and the prosecution decides just not to press to carry out with it. So, what can we do to get better stuff to make them have to prosecute instead of just letting it go right back on the street?
Yeah. So it's always difficult when you're dealing with a situation where it seems like you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and yet nothing happens on the legal end when it comes to follow through. That is a deep question, because it goes back to politics, and hey, it's election day, so make sure it's there. I'll say that. But honestly, voting is one of the biggest ways, because it goes all the way back to how laws are made. All I can say is that we will always try to do our very best to make sure that the community is safe.
Yeah,
and
you do your
all
best.
we can, and as citizens as well, all we can do is our very best to make sure that information gets passed along, reported, and handled correctly. Once that information goes to the legal system, the court system, it does kind of go out of our hands. And so I don't really have a great answer as to say how that gets resolved, other than to make sure that you're invested in who you vote for, and knowing the stance that they have in our community.
Maybe as part of our neighborhood watch, we can get District Attorney Will Culver in. We probably can't get him to every neighborhood watch, but maybe bring in a few of you that are interested and have a question and answer. He was very willing to for council, so we could ask him to one of our neighborhood watch meetings, and you could ask him those questions. So that's a possibility.
And to piggyback on her question, before we post on social media or we share things on social media, I know in the past couple months there was a couple things where people were saying there was a guy going around town trying to kidnap children, and I know in the past there's been things on Facebook about people at Walmart trying to grab you, go into your car and stuff like that. It's real easy to call us and ask and get a report on that. Has that actually been reported? Is it not? Because we see it spread like wildfire through Facebook, through word of mouth for all the communities, and then you get people panicked, they don't want to go to Walmart now, they don't want to go out in the community. So be careful for what you share. If it's not verified, then you kind of create a negative effect towards that. And also, to all of this, is the biggest thing is, if it's not reported to us in any aspect, we don't know what's happening. And if we don't know that it's happening, we can't figure out a solution together to solve the problem. So that's what we want with these programs, is we want that dialogue, so people feel more comfortable talking to us. Maybe they don't feel comfortable talking to us, but they'll go to the neighborhood watch captain and say, hey, this is happening in the community, and then they can get it to us. So that's what we want. We want that dialogue, that community strengthening that we need. So, and you had a question?
Mine was that she mentioned about signs. And then I thought I heard somebody say that we get money together for our own neighborhood and get our signs up. Would that also apply, like if we had like a really super dark spot and maybe we could buy our own light if we just needed one light?
Before you do that, I recommend we talk to the city engineer and see if you can get one put up there, because I know you can have them put up and they may split the cost amongst the neighborhood that it affects, and sometimes just a couple dollars a month for each person that it helps.
$5 a month.
There's also requirements of how many lights they have to have, too.
Yeah.
So if there's
I already did look into the price of the lights and the cost of the installation. And it
Pretty
is
high.
feasible. It will take some work, but I just wanted to know.
Well, if there's a
Get
dark
that.
spot, they may not know.
Yeah, let's try the city first
Maybe, you know.
and then look at other ideas if that can't
There
work.
might supposed to be a light there, but there was an accident.
Yeah.
The pole got knocked down, and they haven't got around to doing it. So reporting that is the main thing.
Well, there were a few of us that we walked around the neighborhood and we just kind of made a little notes of where we would like to ask if we
Sure.
could possibly have these places lit up.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I have a question. One of you mentioned the homeless in the area. I'm just curious if you find that they're committing crimes in addition to being homeless. What the majority is.
Yeah. A lot of it comes down to shopliftings, trespassing. They're going into these abandoned properties. They're getting into things that they're not supposed to be into. They don't have money. It's getting cold now, so now they're going to trespass into these abandoned structures. So that's what we want to know too, is if there's an abandoned house in your neighborhood that we're not aware of, to where we can get code enforcement in there. We can get owners of the property to clean it up, to secure it to where people can't get in. So
we should pay attention when
yeah.
see it.
So homelessness does bring an increase in crime. So we have seen it.
Okay, one last question. I normally, when I report something, I do the 2525, or would it be better to do 911? What's the best way to call in?
Well,
Let's let our dispatch supervisor come up, Jessica. She's in on these meetings too, and she's the one that starts when you guys call in. It starts with her people and answering the phone and getting it pushed out to us. So.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jessica Madrid. I'm the communication supervisor for the La Junta Communications Center. The best way, we do have two lines, non-emergent, which is the 384-2525, and then, of course, 911. If you feel it's an emergency, then there's no hesitation to call 911. We have both, where we have a true emergency on the non-emergent line, the 2525. And then we also have non-emergent calls come in on the 911 line. I can't tell you what's an emergency to you, because that may be different for me.
When I meet a guy walking around the neighbor's house, going around the side, kind of looking in the windows, that'd be a 2525. If he's stabbing a guy, that's 911.
Could be. But it's, it's just, what you feel comfortable. What do you remember in that moment? Are you going to remember 911 or are you going to remember 384-2525?
I got you on speed dial.
That's right.
And then I had one last question for all of you. We used our Seco News partner to get this out, our Facebook page. What else can we get out to get more people in here? Like, what do you use, Gil?
I put it on Facebook. Share it again.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Talk to people,
Talk to people,
everybody.
ladies.
Word of mouth, guys. You put it in the paper, and
Facebook.
they'll go read it.
Okay.
Told people in our
You
neighborhood.
go talk to 10 people, those 10 people
Yeah.
will talk to 10 people, and get something done.
And way back when I was a reserve, late 90s, I got to go with the detective here in La Junta, and we were starting neighborhood watch at that time around the city park, and we actually walked around and talked to people, sat down in their living rooms, stuff like that. So if any of you folks are interested in doing that with an officer in your neighborhood, let us know. We'll schedule a day, and so that they're not having to answer calls, and we can maybe try that too. But it'd be nice to get more people, and I really thank you guys for your interest. But, it gives us some hope that we've got some people out there that want to help us make it better.
People out there to help be your eyes and ears.
Yes.
I think this question I got would be for the people that are already running one. In my neighborhood, there's 9 residents between the 300 block and 400 block of Maple. And out of that, there'll probably be 5 active. There's 2 residents that we never even see them come out because one's an elderly, he goes to the back door. We never see him come out. The other's a young kid. They in there and then whatever, and then we got a young couple that just moved in. So is it going to be feasible to have something like that with 5
Absolutely.
residents doing it?
Yep.
Sounds like you already moved.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's where we were talking earlier in the PowerPoint here about having those home checks on the elderly person that you rarely
Right.
see. Maybe starting the program in your neighborhood will garner some attention from the surrounding areas too. It's like, wow, look at how that neighborhood operates, or the people that you don't ever see are going to be impressed by how you're checking in on them and keeping an eye when they're not home, and so it all is a benefit.
Well, see, in the neighborhood, I grew up where I'm at. I left, came back, moved back in after the pregnancy. The neighborhood, they all depend on me to watch for them. The lady, she's a single lady with her son. The young couple, brother and sister, single. The elderly man with his son next day, and the new one that came in. The neighbors next to me, he's an older guy and a younger guy. They kind of watch with me. Mm-hmm. But everybody calls me, or they'll message me, hey, can you check this out? Down at the corner of 4th and Maple, there's kids sitting on the street. Go see what's going on. I'm like, call the police. I can't go out there. But when I could hear down behind the bridge, like I said, behind my house, the hill, that's where I see the people come up and down. And like you said, one of them said, the guy that come up the yard, there's a little storage shed, he was staying there, and he didn't want to rent this. I just wanted him to leave. It's private property. So, but like I said, then the Alasteca, I watched them, and they watched my place, and then the church and the house right next to me. And the guy that owns it lives in Rocky Ford. So I tell him, I'll watch it. But if something happens, you got to make you coming down here and do something. But he's boarded up stuff now too. So,
And I'll say, if your neighborhood or the area you live isn't large enough, or you don't feel fits this structure, it doesn't mean you can't still be effective. Like you said, just with what little group you have, it sounds like you have a lot of information. It's just that these programs create that where you guys communicate with each other. And it comes into when you get into these groups, like you talked about posting on social media, is like letting your neighbors know, hey, you got this brand new TV for Christmas. We're not posting that on Facebook. We don't, all our trash, when we bring our trash out from holidays, we're not leaving our boxes of Xboxes, TVs, break them down, put them in the trash can, go put them in a recycling thing. Don't make yourself a target. And that's the type of things that you're going to talk about in these groups that you create, of how to target harden, make your area less feasible, less of a target. So that's the type of stuff, and you can be any size of neighborhood to do that. I mean, you could be a block that has just 2 houses on it, and as long as you guys have that communication, you can be effective in these type of programs. So don't think just because you don't have enough people or that you can't participate or you can't be effective, and not get involved because you just think ask the questions, and it will do what works best for you.
And I apologize, some of these are wrong. We fixed it this morning, and it apparently didn't get saved. So if you gentlemen have any cards to hand out, that's fine. If not, we can get you some. But
a lot of the stuff that concerns me is with the mental health being down on that side.
Yes.
They're constantly coming up 3rd Street and up 4th Street, 5th Street, up Maple, Lincoln, all them areas. The little gal that pushes the cart stands in the middle of the road with the cart and doesn't move, and you go try to talk to her and she'll cuss you out. I leave her alone.
Is this the big one with the wheelbarrow?
No, I've seen that one. But the one black guy that stood in the middle of the street one day, I don't know who came out. He started directing traffic, and I'm watching him. Before I called, they showed up. And then he took off, wandered away, goes, call my attorney. Don't talk to me, call my attorney. So I see a lot of stuff there in my neighborhood that goes on, and that's why I got cameras. So.
And thanks for what you guys do. Keep up the good work.
Down in my neighborhood, I mean, you guys probably